What's up, everyone? Welcome. We are live right now on CannaBuzz, and if you're joining us on YouTube or Spotify, thank you so much for joining us. We have Damien from Derived Creations. We're going to be talking all about edibles. So if you want to learn about how his company's tackling things like consistency and quality and scaling up, and we also talk about how edibles work and all sorts of things in this episode. So if you are fascinated about edibles or want to learn more about it, stay tuned. We have a great episode for you to dive into today. But before we do, I've got to pick up my son who wants to be held. And then we're going to dive into some shout outs. First off, shout out to everyone in the CannaBuzz community. We were just talking about, before we started recording the episode, we were talking about how the platforms that we all use, like Instagram and YouTube, aren't really are too much of our friends these days. Our friends over at Dude Grows Show just had their channel deleted the other day. And so right now, we really want to encourage everyone to follow us on Spotify if you can, and join us on the CannaBuzz community, or you can follow us on your favorite podcast app. By the way, but yes, we do not like YouTube for deleting people's accounts, and we want to encourage you to follow us over on Spotify, your favorite podcast app, and join us in the CannaBuzz community. It's your way to support us monthly. You can join for as little as $4.20 a month, and if you use the code BUZZ, you get your first month free. And also, I'll make, let's see, we'll throw in the shout outs a little bit later in the episode. I thought that was kind of cool that we did that last week. We'll try that again. JR, we'll weave that in. We'll leave some more shout outs later into the show. But let's get into the episode with Damien. So if you're not familiar, we had Damien on like several months, 6 months, maybe even a year ago. Time flies when you're having fun and you're trying to make it in this crazy cannabis industry. But Damien's from Derived Creations. They're on the East Coast. They make gourmet edibles, and they have award-winning THC and CBD taffies and caramels. So thank you so much for joining us, Damien. We really appreciate having you back on the show today.
I appreciate you guys, and really thank you for having me a part of your community and bringing me back for a second time. I always love hanging out with you guys.
Well, like I said, you are our edibles guy, and you're posting some really cool content on Instagram. And so get over there and look at it before it gets deleted and it doesn't exist anymore, folks. Right?
Exactly.
All right. All right. Well, I want to start the show. You know, we, of course, the first time I always ask you how you fell in love with the plant. But today I would like for you to share the origin story and the core mission of Derived Creations.
Yeah, so origin story. I mean, everything started really 2018, but that was 3 years prior to actually the business being started. And from the first episode, if you haven't seen that, I was a grower prior, just like fun, outdoors with my buddies, or I had indoor grow tents. So always was loving the flower, and that's how I was able to make the first round of butter ever for edibles. So after 3 years of being able to kind of make edibles at home, just on the small scale, I had the opportunity of starting the edibles company in 2021, and we were doing more shelf-stable products. So yeah, we could make good edibles, but I wanted something that could be on a store shelf, could be in a dispensary, could be in a wellness store. And we were able to not just do gummies. We knew that we could do gummies, but we wanted to do something a little bit more niche with caramels and fruity taffy, just to be a little bit different, have something that customers can't find just anywhere else. So we were able to do that starting in 2021. It's been a wild ride since then, outside of regulations and just learning how to do business. But really that Derived had really started from doing infused dinners and being involved in the grow community, really. So really excited to be here now, almost 8 years later, being able to share kind of how everything got started. Because 8 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that we'd be on this scale doing what we're doing now. So super cool to be involved in the community. And something that's really been impactful recently that is not, I didn't have anything happen to me in 2018 or 2021 that really wanted me to start this business. I didn't have anything like happen with cannabis of how it really helped me so much. I just really enjoyed the plant. But more recently, with our community that we're building and the wholesalers that we distribute product to, and us being in the community of people buying directly from us, there are so many people that are buying our products to help them with pain relief. Hey, I'm buying this for my family member that has cancer. Hey, I really enjoy this product that helps me sleep. So I'm seeing now that there is such an impact and all the great things that this plant can do. And really now I'm seeing like, okay, we're making like such a big difference in people's daily lives. I couldn't have had that origin story before, but now hearing people all the time, their testimonies, it's great to be in the position that we are being able to share this plant the way that we do.
Yeah, and for some of us in this journey and in this industry, I think the plant chose us. We didn't choose the plant.
Mhm.
And I think it finds and gravitates towards certain individuals, and those are the ones who have lasting power. One of the things I wanted to ask about when it comes to this, and I know we're going to talk about some more business stuff down the road, but one thing that always happens in the origin story is a fork in the road. And that
Mhm.
fork is investment or bootstrap. Which way did
Mhm.
you go? Which way did you go, bro?
Always been bootstrap. Always been bootstrap. So I was able to take just my money that I've made and make sure I kept things super lean. That's how our team is right now. And with that, being able to grow like that organically. So I feel like investment for me as a person, it could be different for other people, but just getting started, the stress of an investment would be kind of stressing me out. So once I started in 2021, everything's just been kind of bootstrapped and getting it done, doing it right as best we could.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, any sort of business, you're figuring it out in real time, and it's when you're going through that process of making mistakes, it sucks when you're making
Mhm.
mistakes with other people's money, basically, because you
Oh,
got them, breathing down your necks. Um,
right.
but yeah, so you were talking about earlier about, scaling and you're working your products into people's lives, and they kind of use it in different ways. So I imagine you have a bunch of different types of products now at this point that folks can go check out. Can you
Mhm.
walk me through what you got and like some of
Yeah.
your main products?
Yeah, so one that we've actually recently been working on, it took about a year to formulate how we wanted it to be. It was specifically a sleep product. And we did this with no THC, so it's THC free for this particular infusion. But we're using CBD, broad spectrum, CBN, magnesium, and also a teeny bit of melatonin to help you get to sleep and stay asleep. So a lot of clients and patients of ours were coming to us for sleep products, and we have a variety of THC products, but there was nothing for specifically for sleep. So that's been something new. We have recently kind of done not a rebrand, but kind of changing the name of certain things. Instead of having the infusions as kind of the centerfold, we've been doing the feelings. So we have a balanced, which is a mind and body. We have THC and CBD in that balanced blend. We have an elevate, which we have a blends of THC in there. It's going to help you more relax, more of like an indica body high, which is fantastic there for like an evening type of vibe. We also have our Calm, which is just CBD plain. If you need to pass a drug screening and you just want the relief from CBD, we have something like that. So a couple different blends to kind of get you through the entire day, and then you are able to wrap up, and then you have a full kind of selection of products to choose from. So those are some of the things we've been doing, but we do those blends all in the taffy and caramels, and we do seasonal drops and flavors. So right now we have pina colada going, and then we'll change up our seasonal flavor, and they all go with these different blends. And then we're constantly innovating and getting new blends out there that people are looking for.
Well, one of the things that I run into when it comes to cannabis and sleep is cannabis is really good at getting you to sleep, but sometimes the longevity of that sleep is the issue. You'll get 5 in and then you'll be up, maybe only for a few minutes or an hour, but
Right.
then you find that that longevity of that isn't there.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's been a big issue for a lot of people. It's not always that it's either pain relief or sleep. That's what I really hear from a lot of patients. And so that's kind of been more or less our avenues within the past year, especially with regulatory changes and what we can and can't do, what people are looking for. So, these are those type of blends where it's like, hey, I can't even stay asleep or get to sleep, and we're trying to do that.
Yeah, and I was gonna say I appreciate that you are making some of those products that just have CBD in them, because
Mhm.
I have family members that they can't really mess with THC. It just any THC at all,
Right.
and most products that you go to most dispensaries these days they still have some THC into them. They might be like the other day, I think we found a vape because I had to like go find something real quick for and I found like a 40 to 1 or something like that, which is like the best I could find. But
Right.
I ideally I would have just found a straight up CBD item. And so I just appreciate that you have that. And I guess a comment or not a comment, a question that I had, and I don't know if this is covered later in the questions, but I wanted to jump in real quick and ask you around taste, because this is a problem that
Mhm.
I've had with
Mhm.
trying to get family members to adopt like cannabis as medicine,
Mhm.
especially in this kind of form, like an edible or gummy or whatever, is they have a weedy taste to them. And so I was curious, what kind of lengths do you go through, or do you go through to try to like limit that?
Yeah, so that's actually one of the reasons I started making my own, is that I did not like the bitter taste sometimes in certain edibles, especially when I was infusing them with flour. So we actually recently had this issue with the sleep product specifically because people are trying something that they know or think they know has no THC in it, which it doesn't. But if it has the taste of weed and cannabis in it, it's a complete no-go. So what we did was I got broad spectrum CBD, tasted like the plant. In an edible, it just completely ruined the taste. Exactly what we were talking about. I actually took our broad spectrum, and from the lab test, it had CBC and also CBG in it, as well as the CBD. And then I got isolated forms of all of them. And then we made our own blend in house with all the cannabinoids that are typically in that broad spec. And then now, since it's isolated form, we did like usually it would come in like a powder form. We were able to get it melted down so we can have a distillate form of it. And then we basically made our own kind of cannabinoid structure with it. And then now it doesn't have that aftertaste to it. So it's just like finding the right labs to deal with in order to make sure that those terpene profiles are out of it. It's important to me when I make product. I want to make sure that you're actually tasting the product itself and not so much of the weed aftertaste. But I do know that some people like that. But it just depends on the product. I particularly
Yeah.
don't for it.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you manage, or sorry, the next question was about consistent dosing and potency. So how do you
Oh yeah.
approach that side of things too?
Yeah. So with the actual edibles that we make, everything is molded. So everything is pre-molded from us depositing them, and then from that we have a standard weight that we're shooting for, and they're like 1 by 1, let's say square molds. Then we know that infusion's made for 400 and some pieces, 432 pieces, and then we make sure that those milligrams are correct with all that. So everything's pre-dosed out. We don't do slabs and then put it on rollers and everything like that for like cut and wrap machines, just because it can provide sometimes inconsistent dosing or inconsistent pieces.
And with that, you're bringing in different varieties of flour, or if you are, and each of those have their kind of individual chemistry profile. How do you kind of keep that consistency in your cannabinoid profile as well?
Yeah. So when I first started making edibles, I was solely doing flour. And there are techniques. If anybody's out there, they make it from home. You can take distilled water and you can take a French press, and put your bud in water, distilled water every 12 hours. You take it out, put fresh water in, and it's going to clean out a lot of that, all the flavonoids that are in there, but keeps the cannabinoid structure, and it'll clean it. So you're cleaning the nug and also cleaning some of those bitter flavors. But what I do is I use solely only oils now, mostly distillates. that is my main jam. Stay super consistent. Every new batch we get, we know what we're dealing with, because sometimes it is super difficult to make sure that your edibles are always right with all the new bud that's there, how it was cured, how it was done. It's just a little bit way too inconsistent for me.
Friends of the show, Future 4200 and Future Compounds, they offer all cannabinoid isolates in powder form. You mentioned doing distillate. Is the powder more of a problem than dealing with the actual distillate itself?
In what way? Just like
Just in the way blending, like if you're blending a product,
Or yeah, is one better than the other?
a taste or anything.
I really like using distillates because we can melt it down. We put it on food safe rubber spatulas.
Oh,
Easy to weigh out. Sometimes with powder, even though it could melt in really nicely, sometimes I get concerned with it blending properly in it, depending on that product. And just to make sure that it stays. So while we use maybe a CN powder, and it is fantastic, you put that in your batch, it's going to melt into the fat and emulsify it. We have lecithins in it. It's fantastic. But I just like, preference wise, I like using distillates or oils. Just makes it easier, and I know that that's in there, right?
yeah. So do you put in or add in terpenes to any of your products? And I guess as an extension of that, yeah, I'm just kind of curious, do you try to add any sort of flavor from different strains in it, or are you kind of leaning more on the the baked item or the chocolate or whatever it is kind of staying out on its own?
Yep. I have worked with terpenes in the past. I always lean more towards the actual product itself and make the flavors with that very strong and flavorful. Sometimes with terpenes, you just got to find the right blend. Sometimes it's really overpowering in order to get like those right effects in. But it's something I have played around with.
So you kind of mentioned the lecithin additive. Can you kind of let people know what lecithin is in context to cannabinoid edibles and how it's used in products?
Yeah, for sure. So with lecithin, it is something that when I first started cooking back in 2021 and starting my recipe journey, never used it, never knew why I would need it. For me, it had my butter, my fat, or my oil. I knew that it was going to emulsify great. But lecithin for us now, it makes sure that the batch is homogeneous and it brings all the ingredients together. It stays and bonds together really good. So if you have an oil or a fat and it has like a water base or anything, it makes sure that all of everything is stick together and well blended. But another thing for us with why we use lecithin is that allows the absorption of the cannabinoids to increase. It's not that the milligrams are higher, but the lecithin just allows your body to break it down and be more bioavailable for your body. There's two different types. You can use sunflower lecithin or or soy lecithin. We do not use soy just because of the allergens. We only use sunflower lecithin.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I like that a lot. Well, we might as well take this opportunity to do a few shout outs. I'll do some Tiki announcements. One of the things I love, you can go to tikiseeds.com and tikicuts.com and find amazing genetics. But if you're a real fan of Tiki, he's got some amazing gear, his shirts, sweatshirts, and all that. All his gear is really comfortable. That's why I love it, is because it's so comfortable. And he's got a 50% off all his shirts at tikiseeds.com. So go check out Tiki and buy some gear, folks. Raw Genetics, he's got some lemon tree 707 lemon tree drops that he's doing. And he has this pure Kush that he's had for a while in his breeding stock of library. And he crossed that with the 707 lemon tree, and it's the lemon puree while we're on the food subject. You can pick that up at rawgenetics.io.
And so the question I was going to ask you, Damien, that we'll get to on the other
You're on
side of
mute,
these.
Q.
Oops. Sorry, I was on mute on Zoom. The question I was going to ask you on the other side of my next two shout outs, the question that we'll get to, I was going to ask you, what are, let's say, a few different, I was going to say materials, but that's not the right thing, ingredients that you think people should leverage when they're making their own baked items or chocolates or whatever? I'm just kind of curious if we could get any sort of pro tips or just things that you feel like people should go get or find in their kitchen to if they want to make some great items. But before we get to that, I need a couple shout outs. First off, shout out to our friends over at Lost Coast Plant Therapy. If you're dealing with bugs, which we're talking right now at the very end of July, so if you're growing outside, probably now is a good time to start using some Lost Coast Plant Therapy, or even inside. Bugs can come in. I myself, in my house, I've noticed different times of the year, different bugs come in and you just deal with different problems. So check out lostcoastplanttherapy.com or grab some on Amazon or at your local grow store. It's a great organic IPM spray to knock down those bugs and other things that are trying to take down your plants. And then last shout out is going to go to our friend Tanazi over at sacred3mushrooms.com. And his other website is tanazigardens.com. Is that right?
Yeah.
So
that's where he has cacti and other things.
So hit up tanazigardens.com if you want to get your cacti, if you want to grow mushrooms. He's got kits there that you can grow edible mushrooms and all sorts of things. So check out his website, and we appreciate their support. And use code CannaBuzz for a discount. So, all right. Thank you for taking some time for some shout outs and helps keep our machine rolling. But yeah, let's get it. I was just curious if you had any sort of pro tips that we could share with the audience before we get into like this next section.
Pro tips, anything.
Yeah, just anything. If you just like, if people are like gonna dabble in this, or maybe they're already making stuff and they just don't know, it's like, yeah, dog, soy lecithin is the thing, or whatever.
Right. So I think the thing I tell anybody that if I am helping them make edibles or any tips, the first thing I say to every single person is make a non-medicated batch of whatever you're making. Make it once, make it twice, make it 8 times, whatever you need to do in order to make sure that that is exactly how you want it to go before you put your cannabinoid materials in it, because then you could ruin a whole batch and then you're eating something that is terrible, or you don't know how to cook, or the recipe online, they were making something out west and it's a different climate, it's a different elevation. So the oven is going to be different. Make it beforehand, and then once you're happy with it, then you can infuse it, because that's what I would say is the easier part.
Awesome. That's a great tip. We'll leave it there. Well, we'll just keep it there. That's a good one. Cool. So yeah, JR, what was our next section here?
Well, before we get into that, I wanted to ask you a question that just kind of came to my mind, and that was now that you're in the realm of plant-based medicine and you're providing plant-based medicines for people, are you looking now, because you've now mentioned that you've added melatonin into this mix. Mm-hmm. And so now you're in the realm of maybe looking at other plant-based medicines to create a product that can solve a problem for mind, body, and spirit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one big thing I've been trying to find a consistent manufacturer on is for mushroom products. So for that specifically for me, I would love to have it where it was like just wellness mushrooms. You have lion's mane, cordyceps, reishi, anything like that. But you have it where I would prefer it not to be in powdered form if I could find it otherwise. Sometimes it's hard to get like a distillate form or anything like that, because it'll change the consistency of the batch insane with having the powdered version. So that's something that we've looked into, because people really are looking for stuff like that. And we could have a little bit more fun and offer it to people in grocery stores or different areas where they wouldn't be able to see our product now.
Yeah, that could be good brand awareness for sure. Mm-hmm. I've been making a lion's mane tincture. I go to the local farmer's market and I have a mushroom guy there that I talk to, and hopefully going to have him on the show too. Cool. But yeah, so it's just a really simple alcohol extraction. Then you water extract, you blend the two, and you have a really, really powerful lion's mane tincture. And like I said, like getting into some of these plant-based and fungi-based medicines, I think are something that people are really tuning into.
Yeah, I think that it's been huge. And then when you are offering more of those benefit specific products, then it's like, well, what else can you do? Why I like this when I usually go here? Can you make something like that? So people are becoming way more in tune and open to trying new things, especially for holistic health.
So, kind of picking up off of what I was saying earlier, kind of getting people into edibles or just trying this sort of products. Are there kind of general, uh, I guess, lines of advice or just directions that you give to people when they're kind of encountering an edible? I was gonna say encountering is not the right word. Enjoying an edible. If they're gonna go
Sometimes
through,
they find you, man.
yeah, exactly. If you like it's a Pokemon or something. But yeah, no. When they're experiencing an edible, should they expect like, oh, there's I've heard people say something like what 30 minutes or something like that. What kind
Mhm.
of things do you typically tell people?
I always like to say, start low and go slow because you can always eat more. You can never eat less. And sometimes that could be scary, but like, dang, this isn't working. And then you eat more and then it hits the first one and you're like, oh, this is not going to be a good time now. So definitely start low, go slow. And then really it's all about like, do you already consume cannabis? Do you smoke? Do you smoke flower or do you dab? That's a big difference in my mind, I think, between the two, depending on if edibles are going to work or how strong they should be. And then also it's like, if what are you really trying to solve here? Because there's a lot of different blends. So what are you really looking for? And then, hey, start with a quarter or a half. It probably won't work for you, but that's cool because you're getting 10 pieces and then you can just up the dose there. And then for first time or two, I take that one set and don't say maybe like it might work in 30 minutes, but wait 2 hours, 3 hours, your first time. And then, okay, that didn't work. Cool. Now you can do more the next time. Because some people get tripped up with their metabolism, how quickly or not so quickly it hits. And then that can be, if they've never smoked before, they don't know what to expect.
So have you had the customer yet whose liver doesn't metabolize cannabinoids and they can't get high at all?
Can't get high at all, or it's like, hey, my tolerance is super high, and then you give them something that is like what people are normally eating for like customer wise, and then they just go bananas. It's crazy. So, yes, I've definitely met a lot of people that have had issues like that for sure.
That's
So
interesting.
from that side, I say a tincture would be the best because then you can put it right under your tongue. It's going to have faster absorption, or you do something where we've been making some drink powders as well, some nano emulsions, and then it actually is going to hit you faster and hit you in a different way where your liver is not going to metabolize it. But definitely the tinctures have been helpful for some people with that.
Interesting.
So, as we're describing liver metabolism and enzymatic pathways, can
Mhm.
you talk about that conversion from THC delta 9 to the 11 hydroxyl T?
So as your liver is going to metabolize it, it's going to convert into that 11 hydroxy and it's going to make it more potent. Some people may have heard this. This was a wild thing that like in the hemp industry, they were making some of the cannabinoids. They were changing up the structure, how they were making it and trying to have 11 hydroxy as an infusion. But it's like what your body naturally makes delta 9 THC. So that was interesting. But I mean, I think for some people with the metabolism, for sure, it can change whether you have eaten or not. What were you already consuming cannabis this day or not? Did you eat fatty food or just like high protein food with no fat? Everything changes kind of there. But I don't know if I answered your question with how that would convert, but it
Well,
definitely
good enough.
more potent than
I mean,
smoking. Yeah.
the point we like to make is that the the chemistry of the way you consume
Hmm.
edibles is different than inhalation or topical.
Oh yeah. So for inhalation, it's very quick onset. That's why you can smoke and within couple seconds or minutes
Seconds,
you're gonna be
yeah.
feeling that. But then with edibles, that's why that has that onset, because your liver has to break it down. Then it's converting that into 11-hydroxy THC, and then your body can actually utilize it, and then you're going to feel the effects. So it is a longer pathway, but the duration can last longer than inhalation, because your body is able to break that down and take it for where 3 to 6 or 12 hours, depending on how much of the milligrams you consumed, as opposed to smoking where it might be 2 or 3 hours.
Or dab 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess I have kind of a question that might be I don't know if it's a dumb question or not, but it's something that's come to mind recently, because I've been thinking about like just trying to scale down from smoking as many joints or vapes or whatever. Should I get into edibles? And I guess my concern about that, as someone who loves a joint and has been kind of dependent on a vape pen to just kind of have an easy thing that you can lean on, you know what I mean? Um, I guess with edibles, I kind of associate that with more of like a body sensation. It's kind of like the tingly, kind of numbing feeling as it sets in, and then it can feel really, really powerful. Um, is that kind of just going to be typically always the experience that you deliver through an edible, or is there a way to have other types of experiences, I guess like a head high or whatever, like you might experience with smoking cannabis?
That's a good question, Q,
Yeah.
because when you do inhalate different varieties, different strains, there could be a way different effect. But when you eat, I wonder about that consistency too, because they talk about the entourage effect, all the sulfur compounds and the terpenes, and all this plays in a role to effect. Well, when you're making RSO and you're decarbing and you're cooking and you're doing, all that's stripped away, or at least all the terpenes are stripped away and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, you're pretty much dealing with the core chemistry of the cannabinoid itself, correct?
So for the products that you're talking about and for edibles, Q, like you had said, it's going to be more of that body, that body sensation for an edible. So people sometimes ask me, "Hey, do you have sativa or indica edibles?" But really,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there such a thing?
Right.
Sorry.
So everything, how your body breaks it down, it's going to feel more heavy in the body for sure. But I know that we've worked with products before and had clients work with products with THCV in it, and that can give you more of that daytime, more of that that uplift that you might want in an edible. So having a cannabinoid like THCV in it can help with that, if that's what you're looking for. But also, if you're able to get a blend where, like, we have our 2-to-1 blend with THC and CBD, people are using that as a balance throughout the day. And it can have effects that are different from where you're getting something that's more couch lock, more put you down, because people don't want that. But some people don't want to actually smoke all throughout the day, and that's why they're turning to edibles as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because like if I could be, I hate to use this term, but if I could have like my recreational edibles where I'm like, I'm gonna go out on a walk somewhere, I'm gonna go to the amusement park or something like that, and I want to just have it, or I'm gonna go to a movie and I want to have a good time, just chill out, and not,
Right.
in a lot of those sorts of circumstances, in most places in the world, you might be enjoying an adult beverage of some kind, right? But
It
yeah,
can get slippery there.
yeah, exactly.
When it can get real slippery.
Yeah,
there.
no, it does. I mean,
It does.
we just had 4th of July, and when we were walking home at 4th of July, there was this guy that was just absolutely hammered, and so just, anyways, on the weed side of things, I'd love to have, with, you were saying, the THCV. That would
Mhm.
be cool to have kind of like an uplifting type of edible that you could enjoy for those sorts of moments. I can't remember earlier when you were talking, do you have a THCV product? And if not, is it something that you're thinking about?
Yep. So we do not have one currently. We've been working on, not one that we've released, but it's something that we've looked into. We know what we would want to have as far as a blend is concerned as well, because there is kind of like a chain of cannabinoids you can do with the THCV that's going to make that nice daytime uplift. I think it would be very beneficial for people. And like you're talking about, like end of day, you have your edibles for that, but then you also have your morning day lift or uplift.
Or you go to a concert or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. So maybe even some people are looking for something that's more energizing.
Exactly.
Which sounds like maybe something that you'd be more leaning towards as well.
Yeah, no, it comes to mind, like I'm saying, like you go to a concert, I'd love to have that and not have to like sneak a vape or a joint or whatever.
You put in your hat in the corner or underneath or
Yeah,
whatever.
hope that security's cool with it. Which thankfully a lot of times they don't give a crap. But yeah. But anyways, let's see. I've stomped already enough on JR's questions.
No, I'm good on that one because I was kind of thinking about that thing too. It's like it would be cool if you could have edibles that were based solely on single source cannabinoid profiles from a specific flower.
And actually, when we've done infused dinners, that is something that I've always brought into people as well. Is, hey, what kind of flour do you want to have at your dinner? And then when you do it, we can pair the food with that. So when you're talking about terpenes and you have that in edibles, I really like it in a food setting because then you can complement the flavors of the food and the effects that you want to have with the terpenes in the flour and then complement them together. So you get that full, well-rounded experience through food and then through cannabis.
Do you miss doing the dinner parties?
They are very fun. It will never not be a thing that I have enjoyed. It is a lot of work, but seeing people have an experience that they've never had before like that, it's very rewarding. So I would definitely love to do another one. Yeah, it brings back a lot of memories for sure. They're fun.
Yeah, we have this baller chef that tours around. I don't know if he just does the West Coast or what, but they're all cannabis infused things, and you buy tickets like you would go to a thing, and you could get the ballers, $300 ticket where they just really, do it up for you.
Sounds awesome.
Something I'd like to do someday. Yeah, so I guess now that we've talked about all this wonderful, positive, and uplifting stuff, we should talk about some annoying and horrible stuff like regulatory compliance.
Oh, my favorite.
Playing within the
favorite.
rules.
I wake up, I live, breathe, eat it. Yeah.
Well, so yeah. I mean, as we've seen, before that we were recording, or the CannaBuzz members can see on the live show, we were just complaining about all these platforms and their rules and stuff like that. But also, if you zoom a little bit out on a state side and on a federal side, things are changing. We just had a change in president. And things kind of were leading towards potentially, people thought, are we going to decriminalize weed or something like that? And now the current situation seems like they're not really prioritizing it, but it's kind of weird. But they also just raided a pot farm in California, so there's like all this kind of stuff is just changing all the time. So how are you kind of navigating that right now? How are you kind of trying to play within the rules, especially on the farm bill in particular is like the hot topic in the industry?
Because it's being rewritten and they're already recommending legislation for banning all of that, seeds included, clones, everything.
Yeah. We could have a whole show just on this, but I think high level, our facility is located in Maryland. They just changed regulations, which our business was already stated and in business before 2023 when they changed the regulations 2 summers ago. So we've been fine with what we're doing manufacturing wise, and we've been shipping out of state. But a lot of stores that were open after the fact, not so much. So regulations have changed. Long story short, people are getting raided, losing all their product, getting charged for all the product that they have in their stores. So getting fines, money stolen out of their safes from, hey, you're doing illegal things here. So that's tough. What's also tough is, hey, we want to, be online, can't do it because of regulatory changes with Meta and other things that we talked about prior, as you know. Another thing is packaging. Packaging can be tens of thousands of dollars, depending on how many bags you buy or packaging you buy. So we were talking about being very bootstrapped on that. And, even for the bags, it's like, I'd rather print out and get really nice labels and print them out and put them sticker on the front and back. Very labor intensive, but you never know milligrams.
You need flexibility.
How many pieces can you have in a bag? It changes state to state, and really session by session, because they could just change the laws at any given point. But I think long term, how I see it That's why we've created the sleep product. It's something that, it could go away, who knows, but it can benefit a lot of people, and it has a little bit more legs than some THC products. And then really it's more or less, when times change, we're going to have to make a pivot.
Exactly.
So run it up, have a great time while we're doing it. And then from there, it's just like, try to protect yourself as much as you can. But if you're stressed about it every day, it's not going to change what the lawmakers are doing. So it's just try to stay within the legal bounds and do the best that you can.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best advice you've given yet, because pivoting, the word you said in that whole statement was pivoting, and that's the only staying power to any of us in this industry that stand here today. Yep. Is pivoting. You just can't get into one thing and think it's going to be just the gravy train and you're going to ride that out to ride it out to retirement. It's not happening, bro. I mean, I don't know. There's some people who make money grabs, but most of the people who I know who've got decades into this industry are still dealing with a lot of heartache and a lot of I guess lack of gratitude from the world we live in.
Yeah, diversification. I was mentioning earlier the California State Fair and their awards. Some of those top winners, those guys that grow flower, they've also started making seeds, as a way to diversify their income. So like you were saying earlier, diversifying your products is just such a smart thing to do. And try to find those niches that you can dive in and may not have as much scrutiny right now for whatever reasons, or maybe they're really growing. Like you were saying earlier, like the lion's mane products or whatever. I know people are really digging that stuff now. So it sounds smart to just diversify. It's also an interesting creative challenge, I imagine, to you as an entrepreneur, right? It kind of keeps you on your toes and you have to kind of check out all these different things.
Well, you got to check it out. And how I think of it is that it could be like the grass is always greener on the other side, but you don't know that it's filled with manure. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, this other industry is so great. Let me jump ship. But then you don't realize that there are regulations in other industries as well. So it's like, okay, well, I understand this is maybe a little bit more challenging as an industry, but it's making me better as a business person, I still have a team that I need to take care of. And customers that are buying our stuff that are getting help from our products. So it's, the pivoting is huge, and, you just try to, again, do the best that you can.
Right.
Well, pioneers like you will be the ones who will be able to offer the up and comers the advice they need if one day things fall and we do have the opportunity to exist as legitimate businessmen, because, there are many facets to our plant, and there's nothing, the plant doesn't mind that you make a living off of it, as long as you're doing it in honor of the plant.
Right.
And so there's nothing wrong with having commerce. The business part of it is very much a real part of it. And so I think one day when we do have the opportunity to flex, it'll be guys like you who've really done the pivoting and that, who will be able to help the future generations who do want to serve this plant.
Right. And for all of your community, it would be the same thing. You have a bunch of growers out there and you're exchanging value. So it's not that, okay, I'm taking my money and I'm trying to be a businessman, whatever. You're getting compensated in terms of value you provide people. And more people that know about you, the more money that's being gifted to you and given to you because of the services you're providing. So I don't think that people should look at it in a bad way like that.
Word.
So what are some of the ways that you've been promoting your business over the last several years? I know whenever you're trying to grow a business, you try to find those channels of growth and how can I promote myself and get the word out there? What are some ways that you've found to be successful?
Yeah, so this is actually a very funny topic. I've tried a little bit of everything, and I think any one thing would work. And there are certain things that maybe I'm not as skilled at that they will work, but it just hasn't worked for me. So events have always been awesome. Love going to events, doing pop-ups. A lot of things recently with regulations, as we talked about. I mean, I've been banned from events, kicked out of events because we're selling what we're selling. You say I can go there, and then it's a big deal when we get there. So that's weird. We have done mailers, postcards. We've been posting online for organic content. We've never done paid ads essentially, but just because of Meta, there'd be a lot of money, tens of thousands of dollars a month you're putting into paid ads right now. But I know that is the one thing where every business has to advertise no matter what you're doing. So it's just the volume of work and advertising that you're doing. And right now we've been just cold calling stores and sharing our products, sharing samples, and then also DMing people from content, because we know that we're doing like fun trials. Hey, you can try every infusion that we have in this box. Instead of paying the money that we have on the website, here we offer to you. So we've been doing stuff like that.
That's one of the things that stuck out on Instagram to me was the box you offered. You had the sleep one in there and you had the elevate, I think. And go ahead and talk about that fancy box.
Yeah, so that is something that we've been doing taste testers for where we bring out new products or anything like that. So we've been getting a lot of good feedback. Now, this specific box we just put together where it has all of the basically the experiences that we can offer you. So you have sleep, you have an elevate for an evening blend, you have your balance blend, you have a calm blend, and it has all the blends in there. That's one box. We also have another one which is just THC free. So if you need to pass drug screenings, that has like a tincture. It has other products in there that doesn't have any THC. But we've been doing those sample boxes and people have been absolutely loving them, because instead of trying to figure out what cannabinoid you want, you can just get a box and then you can figure out what one actually works the best for you. So when you come back, you know which one is your favorite and you can pick the flavors that you like. We've been doing a cool offer with that and giving it to people for like $20 instead of the $60 plus $10 shipping, just so they can try stuff. And that's like a big thing for us, just to get it out there to people. So that's what we like to share.
Awesome. And as our listeners are listening and they're thinking, hey, how do I get this box? How do they get the box?
Yeah, so the best way, you can either email us and I'll make sure to get that code to you. If you follow us on Instagram, we can definitely hook you up there. Those would be the two best ways, but just reach out to us direct, because that's not that code is not something that's online. That is something that once you are in our community, we'll give to you. That's what we like to do.
Fantastic. So let's get to the cool stuff. You've been winning awards. Let's talk about some of that, my friend.
Okay. Yeah. So when we first started, going and doing events was a big thing. But then the awards that we've won, we just started competing in competitions. I was like, I think my stuff's good. Everybody thinks their stuff's good. Let's go and compete with other people and see how it actually matches up, because we can get great feedback from that. So we submitted in 2022 was my first competition we ever did, and that was with High Times Magazine. We came out on top, beating some big brands in the industry for at the time, I think that was a Delta 8 infusion that we did. And we won with our Seesaw caramels. So did that. And then later we did like an infused foods competition. We won with a cheesecake and a gummy. So we did like a s'mores cheesecake. We toasted the marshmallows on top. It was a local event in Maryland. So that was cool. And then 2023, we came back, High Times Magazine again. We won with our coffee caramels this time. And that was for non-gummy. So that was like an alternate category. It was all for things that were not gummies. And in PA, actually, at I think it's like the Penn Canna Fest, we did the dessert. We won with a black bottom cheesecake up there. Love doing cheesecake. Damn. So that was fun that we did. It was 5 judges up there. So they got to do it was 4 or 5 courses, and we did the dessert option up there. So we've been competing in competitions, and I think that for anybody that wants to put their product out there, it is really cool to get around people in the community, really cool to build relationships and really network, make it a networking event, and then you can showcase your products. And I put a lot of time, and that was like my advertising dollars is doing competition.
Yeah.
We have spent.
Yeah. So, and the thing was, I was like, I'm going to blow up. We won High Times. It's crazy. we're to the moon. And it was not like that. But we have gotten so many great connections, and we have gotten so many partnerships years down the road just from competitions like that. So again, it's not oh, we're going to blow up overnight, I'm first place. It's not like that. Let that marinate. And then
Mm-hmm.
a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, it builds the value of what people see you as. And then you're like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, look, these are the things that I can provide to you. I'm going to make sure to treat you right. We just happen to win competitions. That's cool. But we do have some good products that your customers or yourself would enjoy. So then they have a little bit more confidence in what you're offering them.
Well, I can tell you as a hash maker or even a flower brand, if you win, it's prestigious competitions,
Yeah.
it means something in the industry, especially in the hash community, like how Ego Clash used to be and stuff like that. Those were big deals to walk away as a winner, and it usually meant something good for you.
It's
Right.
huge,
Yeah.
huge. And that's what I didn't understand at first. I was like, oh, like we won. This is insane. Like this is crazy. But then it was like, okay, down the road, what does that look like? So yeah, blessed. Definitely blessed.
Yeah, you reminded me that the news that Josh from Raw bought bought High Times, and
Oh.
they plan to bring back the cannabis cups. So I hope that I went to like one cool one in 2018, I think was like when they started to have to change, and especially in California and elsewhere, and slowly, they went their way. But I hope they bring them back and bring them back in a good way, because we really do miss the weed festivals.
No, it offers
Yeah.
a really cool experience for everybody.
So, just out of my natural curiosity, how are you infusing a cheesecake?
Yeah, so we make the entire cheesecake from scratch, and I put the infusion in the crust. So instead of having it throughout, even though there's a fat throughout, just from it cooking, it could cook weird. But the crust is all infused. It has butter. You could have sugar or no sugar, depending on the cookie that you're using. And then you infuse it throughout. So when you do your slices, hey, the good stuff's down bottom, and then you get to enjoy the cheesecake, and it's fantastic.
That's awesome. I
Interesting.
wouldn't have thought to do that.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's what it was for the first dinners. That was the dessert, and I had no idea how to make cheesecake. And that's what I tell people with the non-medicated: make it a couple times before you infuse it. I made like cheesecakes in a day, and if you've ever made a cheesecake, it takes forever. And so I was up forever trying to do it, and I was like, we'll just keep making it and tweaking it and making it and tweaking it. So that was at the first dinner we offered cheesecake.
The last question here is about kind of we were talking earlier about kind of different the product lines, and so of course we've got vegan and folks with allergies. Are you kind of venturing out into products for those folks that have those
Yeah.
limitations?
Yeah. So as far as other allergies, there's not besides the soy lecithin, that was a big allergy that we wanted to get away from, and we never used soy. But for vegan options, we have done a lot of testing for our fruity taffy, and we have formulated a product and given it out to over probably 200 people to sample and try. And we did a blind taste testing. So we took our strawberry fruit chew taffy, and we had our regular with butter, and then we had our other one that did not have butter. It had a butter alternative in it. And then we had to do a side-by-side test, and we had reviews for the product, for flavor, texture, consistency, and all that. So from that experience that people would go through, they actually said that our vegan option had a cleaner taste. It was more flavorful. Consistency wasn't changed, and some people said that it was like the same. They didn't understand the difference. So that is probably something where we might just make the change just so we know that we wouldn't have that issue. And then knowing as well that, these products are vegan friendly. It's not going to have the butter in it. It can hold up a little bit more better in the heat as well. Yeah, so just a little bit more stand up, which is always good. But yes, we've been looking at that. Our caramels right now, we know we could do a vegan version, but our caramels are so tasty that I'm vetoing that for now. But that could change in the future. We could do a different formula for a vegan caramel.
That's tight.
Well, we really appreciate you hanging out today on this afternoon. Before we let you go, we want to give you a chance to give shout outs. So let us know like what your website, your social media, anything else that you think people should check out to learn more about you?
Yeah, for sure. So for retail, derivedcreations.com. You can get onto the website. Email on that is info@derivedcreations.com. So if the little trial box is something that might interest you, just give us an email there or visit the contact page, and I'll definitely hook you up with that. And then on our social media, we do have TikTok and Instagram, but on Instagram, it's derived_creations. And you can check us out, check all the content behind the scenes. You can see the facility and all that fun stuff that we do. Nonetheless, big shout out to you guys for having me back. Yeah.
No worries, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'll just let you know that the robots made that I couldn't hear exactly what you said, but I thought
shout
you
out
said,
to you guys.
Yes, I thought you said thank you for coming back on.
No. I appreciate you guys very much for having me back again. It's always good hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, we appreciate your time.
Absolutely, because I imagine you are a very, very busy man.
But trying to be. The lady wants me to cook up cheesesteaks tonight, so I guess after this, I got to cook up some food. So
nice.
On my way.
Yeah, I'm into that. I'll be right over.
Well, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. We really appreciate your time. Thanks everyone who's watching. We appreciate your time as well. Make sure to follow us on Spotify if you haven't already, or follow us on your favorite podcast app if you use a podcast app. Just check us out over there. It's a great way to follow us if the YouTube gods decide to disappear our YouTube channel, because we got a content strike earlier today for a random video. So
probably my one I just posted.
No, it's not. It's not even that. It's so stupid. They just random. Sometimes it's like even private videos that only 3 people have seen. They're just like, here's a content strike. So it's just weird. So anyways, follow us on Spotify or on your favorite podcast app. That's the best way to keep in touch, as well as join us in the CannaBuzz app or cannabuzz.app in your browser. We'd love to see you over there. And as always, JR,
growers love, y'all.
Peace, everyone. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you in the next one.